This is your news bulletin from Power 102 Digital.
It is Tuesday, the 27th of February, 2024. Good morning, Trinidad and Tobago. This is news to 6 a.m. on News Power Digital. 3 men were shot dead in Maraval yesterday evening. Based on initial police information, at around 5:10 p.m., residents of Maraval Trace off Saddle Road heard a series of explosions. A black vehicle was observed to have crashed into a nearby wall. Another vehicle was seen speeding away. Upon making checks, residents saw 2 men in the crashed vehicle. Both had been shot multiple times. Shortly thereafter, a third man collapsed on Saddle Road and died. The shootings took place a short distance away from the Maraval police station. Several 5.56mm and 9mm shells were found at the crime scene. From police information, the deceased were ID'd as Antonio Trim of Cascade, Javon Peters of 7th Avenue Barataria, and Kirby Victor of Beetham Gardens. Police were notified and the area cordoned off. The crime scene caused a huge traffic pileup in Maraval late yesterday evening. Wearing masks to hide their faces, scores of children from Laventille, some of them friends of slain 12-year-old Ezekiel Paria, stood yesterday where he'd been shot and killed, shouting "Justice for Ezekiel." Encouraged by their parents and a few activists from the area, the children's protest against gang violence in their community began shortly after 4:30 p.m. at Map Trace, Laventille Road East, Port of Spain. They said Ezekiel is more than a statistic and shouted another sign, "Stop killing our children." Melissa Huggins, the boy's mother, and his aunt, who asked not to be named, were part of yesterday's protest. They said they're still coming to terms with the boy's death and could not say anything yet. One resident said, "We're not here to pick sides. We're out here saying we love everyone." From 7 gang, and the innocent ones who were in the circle. Another resident lamented the children are scared to come out this afternoon to stand firm to let you all know how they feel about the loss of their friend and classmate Ezekiel, who wanted to be a pilot. Health Minister Terence Deyalsingh yesterday called out certain fast food brands by name as he once again lamented what he described as the scourge of hypertension and diabetes facing this country. Speaking at the launch of the U Health and Wellness Expo at the Hyatt Regency in Port of Spain, Minister Deyalsingh maintained the mega chains and companies had to take some blame for the health conditions of some sectors of society, noting the focus had to be on prevention rather than cure. Minister Deyalsingh said, quote, "There's not enough work going around on there, and even if there's enough work going on, people are addicted to Coca-Cola and Pepsi the same way they're addicted to cocaine. They are addicted to the fats in KFC and Royal Castle." He said, "I'm calling out the brands for the first time in 8 years because we need to face the truth." Economist Dr. Winsford James is of the view that inequality still exists in some communities, in spite of Trinidad and Tobago experiencing an oil and gas booms in the past. Dr. James says more has to be done to ensure the standard of living is lifted, adding, "A lot of crime is to be found and generated from the most disadvantaged areas." Route 2 Maxi taxi operators did a drive-by protest in Port of Spain Monday to highlight concerns on the establishment of a clear policy from the Ministry of Works and Transport relating to the management of Citygate Maxi taxi section. The need for improved next of kin guidelines related to the priority bus route license and the merit point system. In the region, scores of musicians have paid tribute to Peter Morgan, the lead vocalist of the Grammy Award-winning reggae band Morgan Heritage, who died on February 26th at the age of 46. The group issued a statement on social media announcing his passing this past weekend. The group did not disclose Peter's cause of death. Those paying tribute include Shaggy, Capleton, Taurus Riley, Stephen Marley, Freddie McGregor, among many others. In news of sport, Miss Universe 1998 Wendy Fitzwilliam had been in full support of her son Aileen Panton in Group D of the CONCACAF Under-20 Championship qualifier played at the Hazley Crawford Stadium this past weekend. Fitzwilliam was seen in the crowd cheering on the team and her son, who the starting goalkeeper for the TNT Under-20 football team in the tournament. He was in the lineup for the TNT in victories over St. Vincent and the Grenadines 3-2, and Friday against Dominica 5-0. On Sunday, Panton is a former national Under-17 goalkeeper. He's based at Darlington Soccer Academy in the U.S. and will have to be at his best to prevent Canada from scoring on Tuesday night in the final Group D match. International notes Hungary's parliament approved Sweden's NATO accession Monday, clearing the last hurdle before the historic step by the Nordic country, whose neutrality lasted 2 world wars and a simmering conflict in the Cold War. Hungary's vote ended months of delays to complete Sweden's security policy shift and followed a visit by Swedish Prime Minister Ulf Kristersson on Friday, during which the two countries signed an arms deal. Sweden is leaving 200 years of neutrality and military non-alignment, the Prime Minister told a press conference. And finally, farmers have clashed with police in Belgium. They've been demonstrating for weeks across Europe. Some of their concerns include red tape and competition from cheap imports. The protests are the latest in a series of rallies and demonstrations by farmers across Europe. And that is news to 6 a.m. right here on News Power Digital. We'll have major news coming your way at 7 a.m. Good morning.
Up to date and credible. Power 102 Digital.
It's 7 minutes after the hour of gorgeous 6 o'clock on this, the 27th day of February. Good morning to you. Thank you so much for joining us on the Power Breakfast Show. Of course, on the show this morning, you just heard from Paul Richards. We'll hear from Richard Ragoobarsingh. We got Shane. We've got Ruben. My name is Steve Khan. It is 23 degrees at Piarco International Airport, 24 at Crown Point in Tobago, and pretty much copy and paste yesterday. You'll get it today. It was an absolute scorcher yesterday. All right. Quickly, before I say hellos, let's see what's happening. I got an accident to tell you about. Let me just tell you exactly where it is. It is before Warren Road. All right. Well, after Monroe Road and before Warren. Right in the middle, it is northbound on Uriah Butler Highway. Apart from that, usual stuff, Trin City, UE, slow going from the interchange to El Scoro, and then just by swim call, you'll get it. Heavy traffic, though, from Chase Village to Sugarguanas and Charlieville towards the interchange. Of course, that accident is not making it any better. All right? But quickly, let's see who sent us hellos first thing. A lot of hellos. Oliver Man Warren, good morning. Anthony Tinto, Goth Celia in Valencia, Wayne B in Trin City, Wendy and James, Brenda, Isaac, Marcia Rock in Orlando, Keith Watkins, Shobha Mangal, good morning. Gloria Gray, Rena Bodu Jennings, CJ New York, DJ Ray out in Tampa, John Cato, Dennis Basad, Nikisha Pierre, Cohen Duke, Josie Richardson, Michael across in England, Alistair Hart. Good morning to you guys. Thank you so much for sending us hellos. We love it. More games. You just snuck in. Good morning to you. And good morning to you, Dr. Paul Richards. Super Paul.
Good morning, Steve. Good morning, everyone. Super Paul is very tired.
Super Paul, yeah, boy. I'm feeling a bit tired this morning.
Super Paul has to put on shirt and tie it, and he hates it.
Oh, boy. Yeah, well, and let's hope it.
You know, people feel I like shirts and ties, and I really can't stand shirts and ties.
Yeah. Apart from when he goes in that building on Abercrombie Street, he usually wears a little t-shirt or a sweatshirt and heads in. What makes you comfy?
Yeah, I don't know how people could. Oh my God.
Yeah, I like to be comfortable. So
coffee is such a wonderful thing, eh?
Yeah, I have mine in the car.
It wakes up your brain. Good morning, everyone.
Yeah. You know what wakes up? You know what gives you energy as well in the morning? Coconut water. Yeah, so that gives you energy in the morning to start off. But I usually have that any which way. I love my coconut water. Yeah,
is that I'm not coughing anymore at all.
Oh gosh, no, you're not coughing and I coughing. Since yesterday, I'm coughing and sneezing.
Cough is gone.
Oh, well, that is good. That is good.
A friend of yours who's a friend of mine has it really badly. She does.
A friend of mine, a friend of yours. Okay. Call names.
I.
Oh, really? I haven't spoken to I for the week.
Very badly.
Oh, Lord. And I told her about that too. I'll give her a buzz.
We were in a meeting last week, so I dread to think she got it from me.
She got it from you, you said?
I feel so. I'm feeling so bad about it.
You want 2 Andrews?
But it's not, I didn't plan. We had a meeting and, well.
Oh, no. I'll give her a buzz shortly. She's usually up.
Good morning, everyone.
Well, what's going on? What's going on? I'll tell you what's going on. Anyway, I don't want to start off with that. Let's start.
Good morning, Fitzwilliam. Wendy. Wendy's son is the big goalkeeper for the TNT.
Yeah, how old is he now?
I think he's 19 or 20. Mm-hmm.
Wow. I remember him as a little kid.
Yeah. She always told me he loves football.
She does not age at all.
Yeah, she's looking beautiful.
I saw the pics that you...
51 years old and looking as stunning as ever.
She's 51?
Yep.
Wow. I saw the pics that you took of her for Carnival, and I'm saying to myself, but this woman does not age.
Yeah. His son is Alan Panton.
Mm-hmm.
He was the starting goalkeeper for TNT's under-20 football team. So she and her sister Dionise were at the stadium, of course, in full support of the team.
Mm-hmm.
Their child.
She's always supported him, whatever he wanted to. You always,
Yeah, so he's a good goalkeeper. He saved quite a few striking shots on Sunday, so good for him. They have a match coming up, I think, tonight in the final Group D match.
Where, Hazel Crawford?
I don't know.
Okay. Go out and support, folks.
I don't know if it's the Hazel Crawford Stadium, but I mean, he played in matches against St. Vincent and the Grenadines where we won 3-2, and of course Friday against Dominica we won 5-0 on Sunday. And the Dominica was Friday and St. Vincent and the Grenadines was a Friday and Dominica was Sunday. He was the under-17 goalkeeper, so he's been working his way up to the national senior football team, I'm sure. So good for him and good for her,
Yeah, God, it's hard to say I've never been to a football game here. I've been to cricket games, but not a football game.
You could never been to a football game?
Never been to a football game. Not here. Never.
Okay.
I'll change that, though. Been to all the cricket games, but...
It's good to go and support the red, white, and black. So
yeah, man.
Kudos to the national under-20 football team. They've been on a winning streak, and we wish them continued success against Canada tonight. I don't know if it's here or if it's in Canada. So let's get to the bad news.
Oh, no. Well, hold on. Let's get some good news first. Morgan says, well, brother, you look damn good in them suits. Classic man. Look, never goes out of style. That's your good news for today, folks.
Thanks, Morgan.
Good morning, Paul Prudent.
But
yesterday afternoon, yes, let's get into that. Yesterday
afternoon to evening, I got some videos.
Yeah.
And I saw the chaos traffic like hell in Maraval, going up just off Maraval Trace off Saddle Road. Well, the 3 people are dead this morning.
Right in front of the Maraval police station?
Not far from it.
Yeah.
They have been identified as Antonio Trim of Cascade, Javon Peters of 7th Avenue Barataria, and Kirby Victor of the Beetham Gardens. All very young men. Apparently, I saw a video very graphic video of 2 of the men in the car bleeding out.
I saw that too. I didn't forward that to you.
In the last moments of their life.
Yeah.
And one came out of the car apparently and walked and collapsed on Saddle Road and died. Police were called because the police could have walked to the crime scene.
Yes.
It was that close to the Maraval police station.
Yeah.
They cordoned off the road, which caused a huge traffic jam.
Yeah.
Residents reported, of course, hearing, gunshots never sound how you expect them to sound. It doesn't sound like you hear it on TV and movies.
Oh, no.
It's almost like caps, packs.
Yeah.
Police found several spent 5.56 millimeter and 9 millimeter shells at the crime scene.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God. So they were shot, and the car in which they were traveling, the black vehicle, would have crashed into a nearby wall.
Yeah. I actually called my friend who lives right by Bungie next door. And he said he just got home. He missed it by that much. I said, you're lucky. Stay home. Because he'd be trapped for sure. But I don't know. And then I think it was on the weekend. I think there was a police exercise, and an AD wagon made a U-turn and went facing east on the westbound lanes, and police cordoned off the car and got the guys out. And I don't know. But kudos to the TDPS on that one. But I don't know. It's crime in this place. I don't know.
There was a protest by residents of Laventille who went to the area where this 12-year-old young man was killed by a stray bullet. They held a protest begging for a ceasefire with the gang warfare. His mother and his aunt and his friends went to protest the violence, begging people and asking for justice for Ezekiel. They said he's more than a statistic. Wanted an end to gang violence. As Mother Melissa and the boy's aunt still haven't come to terms of, as we would imagine, with his death. I mean, you send your child out to ride a bike or just to play or to the shop or something.
We've all done that growing up. Mom,
and
a ride. Dad,
somebody rushes to your house or calls your phone and tells you your son has been shot. I mean, I just don't know how a parent can process that. How?
I can't fathom that at all.
How does a parent process your child now leave? Mommy, I'm going out the road to ride my bike. I'm going to the shop.
We've all done that growing up.
And these monsters, they said, well, this one has been, well, I don't have any charges being laid there, but people yesterday indicated that 2 persons had been held and were assisting police with investigations into that. And the thing about it is that, I mean, Ezekiel was killed, but the target seemed to be a man who was in the car with his 15-year-old daughter, so they didn't care if they killed the 15-year-old too.
No, they don't. These fellas don't care,
So, I mean...
Sorry to say it, but they don't care.
Why are you sorry to say, though?
And not only that, they go back and they laugh, they drink their Hennessy or whatever it may be, and
they go to a party or concert, and it's like, and they go on with their lives. They go on with their lives.
Yes. Like nothing ever happened.
I just don't know. It's a different mindset. A different mindset.
Parents have to be, so vigilant when it comes to your children, and show me your friends and I can tell you who you are.
But, Steve, Ezekiel didn't seem to have any bad friends. He was riding his bicycle.
Riding like normal.
You understand? So
I have done that.
You don't even have to end up in bad company. You don't even have to end up in a gang.
No,
and you could be an innocent bystander and be murdered in this country.
Yeah, I have done that millions of times. Telling my folks are going for a ride, and me and my partner would go and we'd ride through UE and come back home. Okay, come back home by 5 o'clock. Okay, come back home by 5 o'clock. If you come home by 5 o'clock, that's a different story. And go for a ride.
Condolences again to Melissa Huggins and her family on the loss of their child. I can't imagine what that must be like for a mother or a parent. I just can't fathom what a mother goes through to hear her 12-year-old child is shot in the head and killed when he went to ride his bicycle. I just can't fathom what that mother is going through. Good morning, Richard.
Hi, good morning, guys.
Good morning, Rich.
Wherever you are.
Yeah. Look, yesterday, my niece came home from school ill. She wasn't feeling well. They came home. She picked up a bug at school. And I was like, okay, we have to carry something for her to eat. And I was like, that's just a flu, huh? Much less.
Anyway, Health Minister Terence Deyalsingh called some names yesterday.
Call names.
He's been quite adamant consistently about the issue with hypertension and NCDs. Yesterday, at the launch of a new health wellness expo at the Hyatt, he was on fire. He called it names. He said, it's time to focus on prevention rather than cure. We can't outspend our way out of this NCD crisis in Trinidad and Tobago. He said people are addicted to Coca-Cola and Pepsi the same way they're addicted to cocaine. True.
I agree with that.
People are addicted to the fats in KFC and Royal Castle, calling brands. He said we cannot outspend Domino's, who spends $774 million in advertising annually, or McDonald's, who spends $638 million, or Wendy's $538 million, and Coca-Cola $4 billion annually. But what you can do, Minister Deyalsingh, is start ensuring that these brands, as they do in other jurisdictions, put calorie counts on their boxes and on the signs in their restaurants.
We've been talking about that for years.
So that people can get a sense of how many calories they're consuming. And then you go on an advertising campaign to say, well, 60 calories a day for a week is 422 calories a week, which may translate into 5 extra pounds gained. And start imprinting into people's minds the linkages between calories consumed and pounds put on and the consequent NCDs. You that's within your power. You may not be able to outspend those companies, but you can certainly go on an ad campaign, because they have to do it in the USA and they have to do it in the UK. And they don't do it here because they don't.
I don't know what the problem is in doing that here.
You understand?
I don't know myself.
Science, all those ministers travel, all those ministers go to restaurants and places abroad in all of those developed countries, whether it be European or North American, and they see examples of what they have done. So I don't understand what it is that keeps them back from implementing something so simple in terms of putting in calorie count. My only explanation is that there is a lobby against it from the substantial companies that, of course, that back a lot of these.
Well, rather than jump on your soapbox and call out the names and with righteous indignation, you could do something about it. And those markers, those labels have been shown to have an impact on people's consumption habits.
Yeah,
they have been scientifically shown to have an impact in people's choosing what or how much they choose to consume of them.
Yeah.
So jumping on your soapbox and, well, we can't outspend and putting some of this on you, the consumer. Do what you could do too. I have no problem with the consumer understanding that these choices have consequences to health, and we can't spend our way out of curative approaches. And we have to focus more on prevention and healthier lifestyle and healthier choices. But why don't we in Trinidad and Tobago have on this X amount of calories and on the signage, which is standard in the US and the UK and other developed countries, standard. You understand? This snack box has X amount of calories, excuse me. Remember when they went on the supersize and the American health institutions shut them down? Remember that supersize campaign years ago? They shut it down because of the negative impact it was having on the health of the population, in particular children. In particular children. In the UK, if you do the research, you can't, there's a limit how much sugar you could have in any particular packet of chocolates here. By law. Because you know what? Saturated fats are addictive. Coca-Cola and Pepsi have addictive properties. It's not just a taste that you like, you know. They put stuff in there to make you addictive, and the salts and the sugars, in particular, children are addicted. That's why they love it so much. It's not by guess, it's a science, and they target you, and the earlier they get children, the better. Not to mention the convenience of working in a restaurant, buying something, as opposed to going home and cooking when you're tired.
Yeah. I mean, there are a few restaurants that actually do put up the calorie count. I've seen some of them.
But Reg is a assault to what we have.
But it should be much more widespread. That's just a minority.
It should be mandatory.
And also, corporate Trinidad could also take the lead.
What, and spend more money?
They could decide they're putting up the calorie count.
The profit line?
No, but I mean, because they could put up the calorie count too. I mean, you don't have to wait on a law for it to happen.
Well, and this way, from buying more, so they could make more money.
Well, it gives you more information
to manage how much you're buying, to lose money.
Yeah.
Them ain't doing that. So, oh my God, I'm certain things that I would only eat it twice a month instead of 5 times a month, because I see the sign. You think corporate
and that is why
actually want to do that?
And that is why they can carry prices and they'll still make a profit.
They ain't doing that. They want you to buy more. They want you to buy more. They want you in there 5 days a week if you can. I can't stand the taste of them anyway, so I feel sick when I eat them.
Yeah, I don't eat it much.
I don't really eat that.
Well, I mean, obviously there's a demand.
There is a demand.
There's a huge demand. Why didn't you have a KFC almost in every town in the village? Or
so people like the product.
And I have no problem with the business model. It's fast food, and there's a demand for it, and it's convenient.
Yeah,
so I have no problem
it's
with
convenient.
that. But it has to be balanced against the general health of the nation.
It is convenient. But it is convenient, but like everything else, in moderation. Like everything else.
Moderation means less profits. Other moderation means less profits.
Look what Guy used to want to say in here in our list. He said Cricks from Trinidad selling in New York, and they have a calorie count of 130 calories.
Yeah.
We can't do that here.
They can. Because we already know what the calorie count is from where their branches are abroad. It's just a matter of including the information.
Of course. They can do that voluntarily, as Richard says, but
doing that.
Because it will result in people moderating their behaviors and buying less. Them ain't doing that.
And they would still make a profit.
They'll make less of a profit, and they're not in the business of making less of a profit. Money, 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 money. Money.
It will affect behavior change probably in some people. But there's some people who will still buy what they buy always.
Good morning to TN Tech.
Yes, morning TN Tech.
Great job. They went up a 50-foot tree and rescued a 7-month-old kitten that spent more than 24 hours trapped in heat.
Yeah.
And
from my understanding, because I was following that story, is that they tried how fire services, everybody. TN Tech stepped up. Kudos to you. And Prince is the cat's name.
Good morning, Zena. I saved Zena's kitty many years ago.
But it was falling off a shelf because it was a ceramic kitten.
It was in danger.
But she has a lot of ceramic. She has a lot of ceramic.
It was in danger.
Don't even go there. Don't even go
It was folded on a shelf and you caught it. Is that what it is?
I'm not at liberty to go into details. Just know I saved her kitty many years ago. It's a very sensitive matter.
Oh, Jesus.
But just know that I saved her kitty from dire circumstances many years ago.
I so want to play that calypso, eh?
So it fell off the shelf and you caught it. I get it. Even though I think is it frogs or pigs? I can't remember. But she has a lot of
pigs.
So what else is going on in Trinidad and Tobago?
A lot of pigs in her kitchen.
I had a very late rehearsal last night. We went to like after. I 11 o'clock last night.
Oh, so. Grenada is making the news of a American couple on a catamaran in Grenada, and they found these guys on the said boat in St. Vincent. Apparently, they went and now on the catamaran, when the officials went in, they found blood. It's a Florida couple. So they're saying that the individuals who apparently escaped from a Grenadian prison boarded the vessel and threw the American couple, overboard. That's what they're thinking so far. They have not been heard of since the 18th. And the gentleman in question have been arrested. It's making all the American news. And things that make you go, what? So, in Playway, there's a draw at 10:30, at 1 o'clock, at 4 o'clock, and at 7 o'clock.
I have no idea.
Guess what number called for 3 out of the 4 draws yesterday? Well, you won't guess, but 29. 29 called at 10:30, at 1 o'clock, and at 4 o'clock. Same number. People were going,
But the odds of that happening are very, very astounding.
Yeah. I think 18 came at 7 o'clock, but
what is 29 but represent?
Possum Man or something like that.
I don't say Perry, but
I don't. Jude Khan, good morning. Mrs. R, good morning. A. Corey Jilks, Lister Lodge. Paul Prudent, good morning to you guys.
Two economists are of the view that an accurate and updated value of the poverty line in Trinidad and Tobago is needed to assist the most vulnerable. They are suggesting that we need to have a clearer idea of how many people are living below the poverty line. At last check, it was, where is the article? It was put at about 20%. Right? But many are suggesting that that number may have increased significantly since the COVID-19 pandemic. And, right, 20.4%. So they are suggesting that because of that, economist Dr. Valmiki Arjun told the Sunday Business Guardian that the poverty line used by the Ministry of Social Development and Family Services of $1,439.02 a month is from 2016, and as a result, grossly understated, particularly with the extent of subsequent price increases. He said prices increased overall by 21%, with prices of food, health, housing, rent, household furnishings, and transportation rising by 41%, 52%, 14%, 9%, and 30%, and 26% respectively. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, boy.
So they're asking, and I think the ministry had indicated some time ago, the official estimated poverty rate was 20% in 2014. But he and others are suggesting that that is presently grossly understated. Those numbers have raised significantly. And because of that, the grants given by the Ministry of Social Development and Family Services need to be revised based on new estimates of the poverty line in Trinidad and Tobago. Don't you all agree with that? Don't you think the poverty line has increased by more than 20% since 2014?
I have no clue.
That could be our question this morning.
I have absolutely no clue.
Well, they're economists and they're suggesting it needs to be revised because of the identified increases in costs of all those services I called earlier on. So, good morning, Michael. Back in Japan. Thanks for the visit.
Oh yeah, good morning, Michael.
You know,
I mean, I have no idea. I mean, how they even assess that. I mean, what kind of data they're using? Is data coming out from obviously from the CSO?
they have to do a new scan.
And so I have no idea what that rate is at this point.
You have to do a national census. No two ways about it.
And they seem to be suggesting that you lift the poverty line figure from 1,400 to something else.
No, from 20%, so they'll know that more people are living.
No, I know the 20% figure, but because they're saying of all of the increases, are they saying that 1,400 baseline that you're saying is the poverty line, which is approximately,
it should be raised, yes,
approximately 200 US.
Yeah, people need more. Yeah,
are they saying that figure should move up?
Well, based on their assessment that more people are facing higher costs for goods and services, yes. Yeah, that's the implication.
And what's the unemployment rate?
It's actually quite good. It's statistically full employment by most accounts in the last 2 or 3 years. But that doesn't give an indication as to the underemployment rate. So that while the unemployment rate may be, I think, is between 5 and 4%, something about this. Somebody could message me and tell me if I'm right, or unless the last one I remember, that doesn't indicate how people are highly qualified and as such not qualified at their educational level or their qualifications and experience. So unemployment is an
who's
issue.
tracking that data? Who's tracking that particular component you're talking about?
It's supposed to be the Ministry of Labor. You know, it's supposed to be Ministry of Labor. I think the Ministry of Social Development and Family Services some months ago, answering a question, indicated that there is a CSO census planned that should start this year, if I'm not mistaken, because they said last year. You know, cost of living is increasing. We all know that. That's without a doubt. And the article said so in terms of, let me just read it again. In terms of the cost increases, food, they said the cost of milk, cheese, and eggs increased by 37.4%, while fish, meat, bread, vegetables, and non-alcoholic drinks surged by 24%, 29%, 32%, 55%, and 44% respectively. These are like basic food items, huh?
Yeah, this is over a period of how long? How many years? Was this over
from 2014 to now?
Oh, 2014 to now, okay.
Yeah, from 2014 to now. So he said the poverty line also highlights the degree of inequality locally, which is substantial in Trinidad and Tobago. The top 10% of income earners accounts for 52% of the citizens' income. So 10%, 52% of the country's income, right? Dr. Marlene Atz also, she's explained how the poverty line affects the economy. She said, labor force participation and human capital development, economic growth, and social cost depends on up-to-date assessments of the poverty line, which is true. So if you have archaic or outdated effects of the poverty line, a lot of your other metrics and indices will be off in terms of your calculations.
Yeah.
She said the household budget survey and survey of living conditions should be undergirded by policy decisions that affect the lives of citizens. If you don't have accurate information, what are you making your policies based on? Right? 151 school pupils dropped out of government schools from the beginning of 2020 and 22. Another 2,666 students dropped out of government secondary schools during the same period. a figure of 2,840. Something I raised, the dropout rate in this country at secondary school, because they don't have to finish, and some parents actually choosing, if they have 3 children, you go to school Monday, Wednesday, Tuesday, and you go to school Thursday, Friday, and Friday. You understand? Because they simply can't afford to send all the children to school every day. They need to do the analysis to know what we're working with. And by all accounts, the poverty line has increased from 20% of the population of people living under the poverty line, which has implications for how people are struggling, which also has implications for the types of crimes we're seeing in some instances.
Don't children have those things like bus passes and stuff anymore?
I think there's some maxi taxi drivers that are paid to transport school children. I think that's how it works now, as opposed to the bus passes. 4.2% is the unemployment rate. Thanks, Paul Prudent, by the CSO, but underemployment and living wage is the key issue. Yeah. I think, remember, the maxi drivers always send this up in an uproar because the education ministry didn't pay them on time, or there's a lapse in the payment or something. So the maxi taxi drivers who are identified as bus drivers, in addition to the PTSD buses that transport students for free in several school zones. So I think that's how they do it now, as opposed to the bus pass thing. And I think it may be that PTSD buses transport school children for free. You know?
Oh, okay.
So they need to do a census and get up to date. Of course, 2014 now is a long time. 6 and 4, 10 years, 9 years, almost 10 years. You understand? The population demographics changed so much in that time, particularly since you would have experienced a pandemic, which had a devastating effect on a lot of small businesses and medium-sized businesses and micro businesses, which would have employed people. So people are struggling out there, and we don't have clear figures on how many are living below the poverty line. All school children get free bus rides in PTSD. Exactly, that's what I said. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And maxi drivers in many school zones transport school children for free. But I mean, it's impacting everybody's lives in different ways. So, and think about it: the same businesses we spoke about, less money from 20% of the society means less sales for you, because there's only so much they can afford to buy. You know, so it affects everyone in some way. Some on day-to-day bread and butter issues. So come on, and they're always talking about the survey and they're not doing the survey. I mean, we'll see if it comes to fruition this year. But never a dull moment. Right? So those are some of the major issues facing us in Trinidad and Tobago. As I said, the question could be this morning: do you think more than 20% of people in Trinidad and Tobago are living below the poverty line since 2014? That could be our question this morning. Some may have a different view. But doing crafting policy on outdated statistics and information is really like shooting in the dark, needle in a haystack. The school feeding plan is still in place, as far as I know.
Yeah.
That's one thing that's been consistent. The school feeding plan is in place. All right, let's see what's happening in the papers. Does you have papers? I said it deliberately. Yeah? I didn't say it.
Just now, let me see if I have the Guardian. Hold on.
All right, when you look, I'll start. It's Tuesday, 27th February, 2024. Let's roll with the Express to start. Front page is send them back. Fire officers wanted unsuitable U.S.-style ladders returned to manufacturer. 3 killed in Maraval. TNTX saves the life of Kitty Prince. 3 shot dead in Maraval. Justice for Ezekiel, wearing masks to hide their faces. And signs saying, anti-earlier, we are traumatized. We do not feel safe. Children are being brutally murdered. The family and friends of slain 12-year-old Ezekiel Paria stood where he'd been shot in protest and asking to end gang violence in Trinidad and Tobago. Let's talk money. Attorney at Law Prakash Ramada yesterday said he and his legal team are willing to meet with Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley on the issue of possible ex gratia payment to the families of the divers who lost their lives in the Paria diving tragedy. TNTech rescues
Which was 2 years ago. Yesterday.
3 murdered in Maraval. MP do more for youth at risk. MP Vandana Mohit. Filing laments delay by Coast Guard in oil spill. Impact President rents from dad. Medical board and the Bacchanal. UNC wants answers in boy's death and cops hold wrong man. $11 million ladders under probe. So those are trending stories in your Express.
But I can do the Trinidad and Tobago Guardian. I can do the Guardian. Oh, sorry. I didn't put back on my camera. Right. The Trinidad and Tobago Guardian for today. And the main headline that the Guardian went with, and of course, just in case you did not know, today is the 27th of February, 2024. And the main headline, fast food warning. Deyalsingh slams mega chains, cautions public against consuming their products, suggests it's putting a strain on the health system. Subheadlines on the front page. Gloucester Lodge, Moravian pupils return to classes. Divers lawyer delays legal action against Paria. 3 men murdered in Maraval gun attack. And the main picture is that of a Maxi protest. A Maxi taxi driver lies on the roadway during their protest action outside the Ministry of Works and Transport at Richmond Street, Port of Spain, yesterday. So that all of that is on the front page of the Trinidad and Tobago Guardian. And on the back page, zones threaten TTCB, which is the Trinidad and Tobago Cricket Board, with legal action. And the main picture is that of TNT midfielder Michael Shaves left, challenges Dominican striker Kian Thomas for the ball during Sunday's important CONCACAF Group D Under-20 World Cup qualifier at the Hazy Crawford Stadium, Port of Spain. Of course, Trinidad and Tobago won the match 5-0 and will play Canada tonight for the right to advance as the winner of the group to the next stage. So that's it for the Trinidad and Tobago Guardian today.
That's no. I type 2 questions. Yeah, move fast this morning. All right, let's move now to the Newsday for today. 3 shot dead in Maraval. Community protests, Ezekiel's killing, gun violence, psychotic and sickening. Suriname to be added to the interregional ferry routes. Fatima and St. Francis Girls Top Choirs at Music Festival. Coco Velvet wants 2028 Miss World in Caribbean. Man killed while defending family during home invasion. Family of murdered man unhappy with lack of police patrols. Route 2 Maxi taxi drivers want policy to transfer PBR passes to relatives. Counseling starts for Gloucester Lodge students after murder outside school. Publicist, songwriter, psychiatrist weighing on leaders call for positive lyrics. And Miss World, TNT gains further attention at pageant challenge. Deyalsingh, Trinidad and Tobago addicted to Coca-Cola and fatty foods. Venezuelan woman stabbed to death in Cunupia brawl and cops detain straightener, recovered 3 stolen Tida cars in separate divisions. So those are trending stories in your Express Guardian and Newsday for today, Tuesday, the 27th of February, 2024.
All right, let's get into our morning poll. But first, let's give you the results of our poll from yesterday, where we asked you, do you think the killers of 12-year-old Ezekiel Paria will be brought to justice? The votes are in. 92%. 92 says no.
So I have 2 possible questions, all typed out already. 1, should the laws be changed to force fast food retailers to display calorie counts on food and drinks sold? And 2, do you think more than 20% of the population in TNT are living below the poverty line? Choose one.
Those are 2 good questions.
I like the first one.
I like the first one.
Calorie count?
Yeah, if I was going, I'd go
There we
with
go.
that. All right. So our question, give us a call, 222-8255. North Americans, toll free for you, 866-525-1099. And of course at WhatsApp at 318-1021. Question this morning, should the law be changed to force fast food retailers to display calorie counts on foods and drinks sold? All right? Should the law be changed? Yeah, change that to B. Be changed to force fast food retailers to display calorie counts on foods and drinks.
So you heard our poll. So 222-TALK, 222-8255. North Americans, 866-525-1099. That's absolutely toll free to you, North Americans. People on web, app, and all of our various streaming platforms, Insta Live, LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube. You can send your votes via the comment section or message sections on those respective platforms. And you can also vote via WhatsApp at 318-1021. Of course, put the 868 before it, depending on where you are. 318-1021. And that's it. Our poll this morning, should the law be changed to force fast food retailers to display calorie counts on food and drinks sold? That's our poll this morning.
Steve, I found the song for Zena.
Oh.
Holy pussy, holy pussy, holy pussy cat. Holy pussy, holy pussy, holy pussy cat.
We'll go with that version. Good morning to Dan Raj, GNC Auto Security. Someone says, let's see. Oh, why can't I get this here? Why is it not opening?
Michael Robinson says yes. Richard. Faria Hayatali says yes. Julie Espartee says yes. Gloria Green says yes. Boise Bidisi says yes.
Yeah.
Gregory Bauer says yes.
Sorry, Miss Bonnie West says yes. Alistair Hart says yes to the poll. What says you, caller?
Morning, gentlemen. Sandy Grandy, yes.
Thank you, Grandy. Have a good one. Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
No, because Coca-Cola, as far as I'm aware, already has a calorie count. They also give you information on fat, sugars, and sodium. People need to be more responsible. They need to exercise moderation in what they eat, what they drink. Okay.
All right. Thank you. All right. I don't know where you went. You did Boy Bidesi. Good morning, Huda Wells, Clifton Sampson, Von Drayton. Boy Bidesi says yes. Gloria Gray, absolutely yes. Michael Robinson, yes. Faria Hayatali, yes. Julia S. Batiste, yes.
I got those already.
All right. Gregory Bauer, yes. CJ New York, yes. Cara Guevara, yes. Kenny in Harlem, yes. Brian Marcel, yes. Shuin Kerr, yes. Slick Money Grip says yes. What says you, caller?
Good morning, gentlemen.
Morning.
Good morning, Zena.
Good morning. Good morning, Paul.
Paul get frightened. Paul get frightened when he hear your voice and he turn off the camera and he get quiet.
Good morning, Zena. Go ahead.
He turned off his camera and he's now quiet, Zena.
No, but you think after you leave a play and going home, you looking at calorie count to buy your KFC? Give me a break, eh? But still, yes, they could.
All right.
Go look at it.
Thank you.
And I heard how the kitten fall off the shelf.
Oh, you heard that?
It's pigs.
It's pigs. Yes, I told him.
And
all right,
thank
Zena.
you, Paul, for saving it.
Thanks, Zena.
So it was a pig and not a cat. Okay.
It's pigs. Keegan Barrett says yes. Keith Molino, yes. Finbar Collins says no. It makes no difference. Okay, Finbar Collins. All right. 222-8255. WhatsApp 318-1021. Toll free 866-525-1099. All right. Should the law be changed to force fast food retailers to display calorie counts on foods and drinks? Yes or no? Von Drayton, yes. Right. You have 4 minutes to vote. Let's get those votes going. Of course, our poll will stay up until tomorrow morning. Of course, our guest coming up next hour, gentlemen we haven't spoken to in a very long time, Conrad Enel, our ambassador in Guyana. All right. Mars versus Venus says no. Mrs. R says no. Judy Khan, no relation, says yes. Desmond is saying, I'm saying no. Wayne Joseph out in Ontario, Canada, says yes. All right. Desmond says it's very clear of what these products contain and the dangers it can cause to our health. Donna Leeling, good morning. I agree. I also think persons should be responsible for their basic health choices. Okay. Lennon Roberts, morning, Lennon. Yes. Marcia Rock, yes. All right. Let's see. Did Marcia Rock. Sexy San Fernando says yes to the poll. Good morning to you, Patos. Hope all is well. All right. Should the law be changed to force fast food retailers to display calorie counts on food and drinks sold? Yes or no?
That's
Yes
our
or
poll
no?
this morning. And you have a little time left to vote before we
2
go to our
minutes.
Top news. So
Yep.
222 Talk, 222-8255. North Americans, 866-525-1099. People on all of our streaming services, you can send your message via the respective platforms. And of course, you can also send it via WhatsApp at 318-1021. That should be 868-318-1021.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. Marcia Rock. I did that already.
Are there any votes on WhatsApp?
No. Let's see. I'm checking here now. Right. Yeah, I actually got some. Here we go. Trevor in Arima says yes. Trevor in Arima says yes. TMI says yes to the poll question. Let's see. Black Pearl says yes. Eric Felix says, yeah, Eric, we want you to vote. Long Islander says yes. Thank you so much. Right, yeah. So let's get those votes going. You only have like 20 seconds again, so you squeeze in a couple, of course, our poll question, which I'm going to send to Shane right now. Will be up until tomorrow morning when we give you the final results. There we go. Take a picture, send it for Shane. Too much to type. All right. Of course, Avi is going to come in. Let's see. Ron M. Yeah, I know. I told him about it, but as you can tell, he disappeared. Thanks, Ron M. Clifton Simpson, yes. All right, Clifton, thank you so much. All right, so Evie just popped into the studio. It's not even cold and she's wearing a shirt. I find it's a bit warm, but anyway. All right, so let's get into our 7 o'clock major news. Evie Sidhilbab is in.
This is your news bulletin from Power 102 Digital.
Investigations continue as 3 men are shot dead in Maraval. Scores of children protest in Laventille following the death of 12-year-old Ezekiel Paria. The health minister calls out fast food brands as he laments the scourge of diabetes and hypertension in the country. En route to Maxi taxi operators call for clear guidelines for next of kin in PBR policy. Details in a moment. This is news to 7 o'clock on Power 102 Digital. I'm Avril Sintelbab. Good morning. Investigations continue after 3 men were shot dead in Maraval yesterday evening. Police reports state at about 5:10 p.m., residents of Maraldo Trace off Saddle Road heard a series of loud explosions. Upon investigation, they noticed a black vehicle crashed into a nearby wall while another vehicle was seen speeding away. Residents also observed 2 men in the crashed vehicle. Both had been shot multiple times. Shortly after, a 3rd man collapsed on Saddle Road and died. The shootings took place a short distance away from the Maraval police station. Several spent 5.56 millimeter and 9 millimeter shells were found. From initial police information, the deceased were identified as Antonio Trim of Cascade, Javon Peters of 7th Avenue Barataria, and Kirby Victor of Beetham Gardens. The police were notified and the area was cordoned off, leading to heavy traffic for commuters utilizing Saddle Road. The crime scene caused a major traffic pileup in Maraval yesterday afternoon. Scores of children from Laventille, some of them friends of slain 12-year-old Ezekiel Paria, protested yesterday following his death. Some of them wore face masks as they stood where he had been shot and killed last week, shouting justice for Ezekiel. Encouraged by their parents and a few activists from the area, the children's protest against gang violence in their community began shortly after 4:30 p.m. at Map Trace off Laventille Road East, Port of Spain. Melissa Huggins, the boy's mother, and his aunt, who asked not to be named, were part of yesterday's protest, but said that they were still coming to terms with the boy's death and could not say anything else. One resident said that they were not picking sides, but were encouraging everyone from 6 gang, from 7 gang, and the innocent ones in the circle to spread love. Minister of Health Terence Deyalsingh yesterday called out certain fast food brands as he once again lamented what he described as the scourge of hypertension and diabetes facing the country. Speaking at the launch of the U Health and Wellness Expo at the Hyatt Regency Hotel in Port of Spain, Deyalsingh maintained that the mega chains and companies had to take some blame for the health condition of some sectors of society, noting the focus had to be on prevention rather than cure. He said that people are addicted to Coke, Coca-Cola and Pepsi in the same way they're addicted to cocaine. He said that they are addicted to the fats in KFC and Royal Castle. He said that he was calling the name of brands for the first time in 8 years because we need to face the truth. The minister confessed that it was an uphill battle for the health ministry. Deyalsingh also said, quote, "We have to work so much harder because we can't outspend Domino's at $774 million US. We can't outspend McDonald's $638 million US. We can't outspend Wendy's $538 million, and we surely cannot outspend Coca-Cola $4 billion US." End quote. Deyalsingh was adamant that this was something that needed to be addressed frontally, adding this was why he was speaking out in such a manner. Route 2 Maxi taxi operators did a drive-by protest in Port of Spain on Monday to highlight concerns on 3 areas. They include establishment of a clear policy from the Ministry of Works and Transport relating to the management of City Gate Maxi taxi section, the need for improved next of kin guidelines relating to the priority bus route license, and the demerit point system. Wendell Carter, in a News Power Now interview on Monday, said the operators, if allowed the opportunity, can properly manage the City Gate facility in terms of security and sanitation where the Maxi taxi functions. He claimed at present the standard in these 2 areas must be improved.
City Gate has been unmanaged for years and years. And with management, you'll have, with under management, I should say, you'll have issues like security issues, sanitation issues, infrastructural issues. You know, in the past, recent past, we've seen a lot of robberies on the compound. And there have been one unreported as well, especially upstairs where passengers traverse into the compound, onto the bays to get to Maxi. And then when I say sanitation, I'm talking about there's no cutting of grass. The garbage is picked up once a day, which is in the morning.
Concerning the next of kin, Carter said the operators are asking for a level of consistency in how this is implemented.
That involves the transfer of busted passes upon death of the pass holder, or in some cases, serious illness or mobility of the pass holder. There was a proposal sent to the ministry to us, and in that proposal, we answered with these suggestions. Today, someone could go and ask for a transfer because they loved one passed away and they will get it. Tomorrow, we go to somebody else will go and not get it. For whatever reason, they may fall into the same bracket, they have the same documents, but they won't give it. So what we're asking for is that they put a policy in place allowing these transfers to take place with the different stipulations.
The National Transformation Alliance will compete for all 41 seats in next year's general elections. It says the political party is seeking candidates in the process moving forward. NTA intends to have the best team possible. It is inviting all patriots with or without political experience to join. It adds officials will also continue to meet with political parties to assist in uniting the country. Next month, NTA plans to begin announcing some of its candidates for certain seats. You are listening to news on Power 102 Digital to 7 o'clock. Scores of musicians have paid tribute to Peter Morgan, the lead vocalist of the Grammy Award-winning reggae band Morgan Heritage, who died on February 25th at the age of 46. The group issued a statement on social media announcing his passing. The group did not disclose Peter's cause of death. They include Shaggy, Popcorn, Capleton, Taurus Riley, Stephen Marley, Freddie McGregor, and others. Straight into weather news for the period today until midnight. Trinidad and Tobago generally fair and hazy conditions despite the odd shower, mainly during the afternoon. Look out for a forecast maximum temperature of 33 degrees Celsius at Piarco International Airport and 32 degrees Celsius at Crown Point in Tobago. Currently, the temperature at Piarco is 24 degrees Celsius. It's also 24 degrees Celsius at Crown Point. Recapping your headlines to 7 o'clock. Investigations continue as 3 men are shot dead in Maraval. Scores of children protest in Laventille following the death of 12-year-old Ezekiel Paria. The health minister calls out fast food brands as he laments the scourge of diabetes and hypertension in the country. En route to Maxi, taxi operators call for clear guidelines for next of kin in PBR policy. I'm Avril Sintilbab. That was news to 7 o'clock on Power 102 Digital. Look out for more news in detail at 12 noon and an update at 8 o'clock this morning. For more details, log on to power102fm.com.
Up to date and credible. Power 102 Digital.
All right. Thank you, Evie, for our major news. You can join her again. Come at 8 o'clock for our news brief. All right. Quickly take a look what's happening traffic-wise. Antigua Road, heading towards the Churchill Roosevelt Highway. You've got some traffic going to Santa Rosa. Piarco to Yui, of course. Macoya Road is chock-a-block. And then pretty much from Valsay to Port of Spain, you've got it. Eastern Main Road is not as bad as yesterday. From Tacarigua going to Tunapuni, you've got it. And Mount Hope towards Mova also got some traffic. Heavy from Coconut Drive towards the Lookout. And if you're coming out of Santa Cruz and Maraval, if you're heading towards Maraval, just after the Maracas Pillars, you can get traffic all the way down. Head down San Fernando, see what's going on down there. Lighter than usual, the usual routes, but lighter than usual. The Solo is not too bad. You're going to pick up your traffic this morning, pretty much from Charlieville, heading towards the interchange. Chin Chin Road to Ibis Gardens, also heavy this morning. All right, guys. Let's see if we have any more votes here. Right, I got that. I have got Danrad saying yes. I think I did that already. Yeah, I did those. Right. Okay, that's it there, Richie Rich.
All right, so our poll this morning was, should the law be changed to force fast food retailers to display calorie counts on food and drinks sold? We have 37 people voting in the allotted time. Of the 37 people, 32 of you said yes, you think the law should be changed to force fast food or retailers to display calorie counts, and 5 of you said no. So 32 said yes, and 5 of you said no. Of course, you can continue to vote on this poll throughout the day, through our programming, and we'll give you the final results tomorrow morning, which will be midweek Wednesday.
Yeah. Alrighty, so we've got our guest already online. It's been a while since we spoke with this gentleman. Good morning to you, Mr. Conrad Enel. How are you?
Good morning, Steve. I'm great. Thank you so very much.
Good morning, Ambassador. How are you this morning?
Good morning, Senator. I am very well, thank you.
You look, Guyana is agreeing with you, sir. You look well.
I try to take responsibility for that which I have control over, sir. So.
Good point. I'm going to leave that alone. We haven't seen you forever, so we appreciate you taking time, particularly. I know this is a busy time for you with Dr. Rowley, the Prime Minister, and other high-level ministers, including Minister Young and others in Guyana. Just give us a sense. I know the CARICOM Heads of Government Conference is ongoing. Give us a sense of, is there a major theme and focus this year, and how has it been going so far?
Immediately, that is beginning on Sunday, the heads convened. But prior to that, you had the energy conference, at which Prime Minister Rowley made some comments about direction as it relates to Trinidad and Trinidad's position relative to Suriname and Guyana insofar as energy is concerned. So you had that. Minister Young was here at the time. Then you had an IDB conference. I think Minister Beckles was here at that time also. And of course, the heads began, and they've had 1 day of meetings already. Today, they are meeting in caucus, where they are going to be discussing quite a number of issues. But insofar as the Caribbean is concerned, I think that the major focus for the heads will be drawing on the COVID experience, in which they found themselves in a situation where we were basically left exposed and had to do some engineering to get medical supplies for our people. Coming out of that experience and looking at the future, there were some decisions that the heads made, one of which was the whole question of focusing on food security for the region within the next 5-year time frame, which caused them to set an agenda, 25% reduction in imports by 2025. Now, the heads have an agenda that deals with issues such as Haiti, the global positioning, the position that CARICOM countries currently are in, that currently take place at the international level. So, for example, Guyana is on the Security Council, Trinidad is United Nations. So within the context of those conversations, they discussed what is happening externally, how it affects us internally, and what the region needs to do to prepare for a world that is changing very quickly, and of course it's very different. That conference continues. The closing media conference would be held on Wednesday afternoon, so that at Wednesday afternoon you will get a sense as to what decisions were made, what issues were discussed, and what the heads agreed to going forward. So that's a sense as to where we are at this point.
You know, and last year, Ambassador, they talked about March 31st, if I remember correctly, being a deadline, or at least a timeline in which they wanted to institute freedom of movement across the Caribbean, I think with the possible exception of the Bahamas. So I'm not so sure if there is any status update on that, because I think that was something that a lot of Caribbean people were looking forward to.
So there are two issues coming out of that. I think the date that I recall was June rather than March, but that's okay. But one of the comments coming out of the heads at the opening ceremony was the fact that different countries needed to do certain things internally to prepare the country for the wider issue. And there was a statement made that said that there was a document with 131 pages of items collectively for which decisions were made, but there was not implementation at the various levels of the countries as yet. So part of the challenge with that particular objective is basically the readiness of individual countries to change the laws that are required to facilitate that. I am aware that they're working on it, and I'm aware that successive governments have taken some steps. In the case of Trinidad and Tobago, for example, a long, difficult issue between Trinidad and Guyana as it relates to honey. The legislation has been passed, the process is in place. The last bit of information we had is that was no longer an issue. So that things are happening, but they're happening very slowly.
One of the issues that has come up is the issue of the regional ferry service between Trinidad and Tobago, Guyana, and Barbados, with the three leaders of those countries seeming to very much want this on the table. The last thing I saw was the deadline was, if not March, April. I see this morning a report saying Suriname may be added. Can you give us a status of this? And that is, are they down to the minutiae of how many sailings will take place? What is the expected mechanism and cooperation, etc., where that is concerned?
So let me frame first of all why that is a requirement. As you know, in the quasi-cabinet, there's a quasi-cabinet in CARICOM in which leaders have specific responsibilities. Guyana has the responsibility for agriculture. Trinidad has the responsibility for energy. Barbados has the responsibility for financial services, intermediation, and so on. So you'd find that those leaders take global responsibility for doing what is required to produce a particular set of results. In the case of Guyana, the reality is that while there is a lot of land space for production, the logistics of getting that production to the market is not in place. So that what the Guyana government is basically doing is looking at arrangements that will cause product to be transferred easily between Brazil, Suriname, Guyana, in a land-based space, first of all, and then Trinidad and Tobago. And the ferry service was basically a commitment by the government that says the government will, in the first instance, provide the service, but it is expected that the private sector would see opportunities in that space and join in the development of a transportation logistics for the CARICOM region. Because if you have goods, but you can't get it to the market, you have a challenge. So a lot of effort and energy and resources are being spent on, for example, improving road infrastructure. There's a significant amount of bridges that has to be built. I think I heard a number like 45 bridges. There's the whole question of a bridge between Suriname and Guyana, which doesn't really exist at this point in time. But at the end of it all, what the intention is to reduce the time that it is taking to move goods and services around so that it could get to the market faster. The other thing that is happening is the whole question of coordinating the customs and that kind of infrastructure so that if something leaves Guyana and it has to go to some country, it can get there without having to go through every single country's port and security, because once it is cleared in one area, they would have the ability to understand that it was properly cleared, and therefore it could move to its destination with as little hindrance as possible. They're trying to create that kind of environment. They're trying to put things in place to deal with that.
You mentioned that the hope is the private sector will pick it up after. Does that mean one country or all three countries will be bearing the cost of operation initially?
At the onset, the cost is going to be carried by the three governments. I understand that is the model. However, there have been subsequently, on the basis of what has been said, there has been a number of private sector interests who have come together and basically are talking to governments about expanding the service and making the service available. I think there are two pieces to it. One is the whole question of goods transportation, and then there's people transportation. That is going to be tied in, of course, to the tourism product, because in a lot of instances, the product is there, but access to it is limited at this point in time based on capacity issues. Those things are being developed, and supporting infrastructure to make it happen is also being considered. So yes, there is a lot of interest in it.
Has there been any discussion on the countries getting together to, one, identify, because I know there's been a lot of speculation about the origin of this vessel that's off Trinidad and Tobago and whether it was going to Guyana or not, and confirmation of those things, the Guyanese leadership saying they want a full investigation into it. Vice President Dr. Jack Deyalsingh saying that. Has there been any discussion on that at all, given the potential impact for putting systems in place to protect future occurrences like this from happening?
So there is some mischief in the communication on this particular matter. The reality of this issue is that the government of Trinidad and Tobago is trying to determine the owners of the vessel, and to that extent, there has been a request made of Trinidad and Tobago to the Guyana government to provide information on the ownership of the vessels based on the information that is currently available. The information that is currently available suggests that the vessel left a particular port with a destination of another port. As I understand the information, it left Aruba. It was intended for Guyana. The Trinidad and Tobago government has made the request. It is still awaiting the information. What Vice President Jack Deyalsingh responded to was whether the ship, if it was Guyanese, whether or not that would have been a government expense. And the point that he was making, which somehow or the other got tied up, was, listen, we have trade taking place all the time. If a vessel is carrying product and somehow or the other that particular product finds itself, as we did in the spill, then really and truly the owners are the individuals, not the government, because the government is not necessarily the owner of the vessel. In circumstances like that, he went on to make the point that what the country has to do is to have a mechanism in place so that it can protect its shores. That's where that conversation came from.
Has there been any confirmation that the vessel was actually bound for Guyana, so the Guyana authorities? Because you've added now Aruba to the mix. We were hearing Panama before, so we just kind of getting bits of information, sometimes bits of misinformation, and sorting and sifting sometimes is quite challenging.
Yeah, well, one of the reasons why nobody has commented on this is because one has to be sure that the information that one gets from the authorities can stand the that can withstand truth. And quite frankly, we don't know what the full story is. I know that there's a team. The government has a team in place both on the national security side and on the energy side trying to work this through. But I don't have any additional information at this point in time. And I am still awaiting from the Guyana authorities any information that they can provide on the request that Trinidad and Tobago made some time ago, which to date has not been responded to.
Well, you mentioned that the Prime Minister's visit, Trinidad and Tobago Prime Minister's visit, started with the energy conference. Of course, the collaboration between both countries is of utmost importance to Trinidad and Tobago. What would have been some of the highlights of those discussions at that energy conference? I know the Prime Minister. There was some discussion about, I read in the Kitten news that there's a feasibility study that is to be undertaken to see if processing of gas would be more feasible in Trinidad as opposed to Guyana. Are there other highlights you can share with us in terms of the close collaboration between both countries in the energy sector at this time?
So Guyana is currently in its early stages in the hydrocarbon sector. They are focusing at this point in time on oil and oil production. Their next phase is gas and gas utilization. So to date, they have put out some proposals to develop the gas utilization and monetization plan. What the Guyana government has said is that within the context of this study, they will determine whether it is more economical or what is the most economical way in which they can monetize the gas. And of course, Trinidad and Tobago with its extra capacity is certainly going to be something that would be considered. You also have the whole question of Suriname as well. The bigger issue coming out of this is, yes, between Guyana and Trinidad and Tobago at this point in time, a lot of support services, a lot of training of the individuals who are required to work in oil and gas. There is a significant gap right now in the resources that are needed. Guyana does not have all the resources that are required. But to a very large extent, the relationship with Guyana, insofar as its energy sector is concerned, is where it has issued a license to Exxon to explore. In that sense, therefore, the government basically is looking at policy and policy parameters and would be looking at particular projects. The big project that is being considered right now is the project Gas to Shore that is intended to bring the cost of electricity down by 50% at the end of next year, I think it is. So that's the big issue right now. That's the one that is being focused on. But to a very large extent, like in Trinidad and Tobago, where you have Shell and you have BP playing in that space, that's the equivalent across here at this point in time. So the The support that is required from Trinidad and Tobago is being sourced through Exxon in a way for the commercialization of the operation. That's what is happening at this point.
Has there been any discussion? I know CARICOM late last year played a significant role hosting an emergency meeting. I think it's in Barbados, in mediating the impasse between Venezuela and Guyana, and managing that situation down, if I can use that term, from what could have been an explosive situation. And we have not heard of any machination since then, thank God, because of the implications for Trinidad and Tobago and our relationships with both countries. We have relationships with both countries, as you are well aware. Has there been any discussion on that or update on that you can share with us?
Yeah, there are a couple of developments that have occurred. One is that Guyana and Venezuela now have diplomatic relations, in that a Guyana ambassador was accepted by President Maduro, and during the course of the energy conference, his statement was read to the energy conference, which basically said that he welcomed the appointment of the ambassador and that he had very high regard for President Ali and they want peaceful relations. So that statement was made publicly at the time that he accepted the credentials of the Guyana ambassador to Venezuela. That's the first issue. The second issue is that foreign ministers coming out of the Argyle Declaration were to meet, I believe, in Brazil, and to have discussions on matters that were of interest to both countries outside the border issue. That meeting was in fact conducted. That meeting was in fact held. The outcome of all of that is also that President Lula from Brazil will be here, I believe, tomorrow to address CARICOM. And he's also a player in this whole situation. So that at this point in time, right now, the tensions have been reduced, but there is cautious optimism on the matters going forward. But there is no evidence that there's any escalation at this point in time. There's evidence that both sides are trying to maintain the status quo, as was agreed in the Argyle Declaration. So that's where we are on that matter.
There seems to be a move in CARICOM, and this is what I'm getting from not only this conference, but the last Heads of Government conference, for CARICOM to finally understand it's important to leverage the assets of all member states cooperatively. We're seeing it with energy, we're seeing it with transport, of course, we've seen it over decades with education, and at some level with sport, particularly cricket. Do you get that sense now that CARICOM realizes that singularly we are much weaker than cooperating on specific issues and having specific strategies and plans to leverage? For example, you said one leader will deal with transportation, one deal with financial issues in Barbados, etc., and understanding that as a regional player, the region is much more powerful, championing specific ideals and projects in the interest of all member states.
So you are correct. Historically, that has been the case, but the issue has not necessarily been that. The issue has been the rate of implementation. I think what has changed with these particular sets of leaders is that their philosophy of implementation has changed. In other words, whereas in the past there was a desire to have everybody on board moving at the same time, that is no longer the case. What is now in place is those who are ready will go ahead and implement, and the others will join when they are able to so do, recognizing that all the countries collectively do not have the same resources and not at the same stage of development and do not have the same abilities to move. To a very large extent, Guyana's entry into the energy sector has more or less changed the thinking in two specific ways. The first one is that as Guyana looked at the window of opportunity for energy, given the international pressures on renewable and some of those issues, there's a time frame within which, if they do not grasp the opportunity, and so also insofar as Suriname is concerned, if you do not make those decisions, the international resources that are available for developing your country is going to disappear. So there's a time pressure. That is basically for some countries. Other countries don't have that issue. Tourism wouldn't have that issue. So as a result of that, the necessity to move quickly and to move with a very specific agenda has become, in some instances, more important in some countries than in others. And I think that as a consequence of that, you have countries who are leading, but they are leading differently. They are leading on the basis that whatever we do for us must benefit CARICOM as a region. And I think that that has been the overriding current philosophy that has caused the observation that you have made to be correct. So in terms of financial services, when Prime Minister Motley goes to the United States or the United Nations or Africa to talk about Caribbean issues, she doesn't talk about Barbados, she talks about CARICOM as a region. When Dr. Rowley goes to the United States to talk about security and to talk about energy, he talks about the CARICOM as a region. When President Ali goes to wherever in the world, he talks about Guyana, but he talks about the region as well. So that there is now more communication taking place at a country level, but also ensuring that CARICOM fits into the agenda. I think that is what has changed.
You know, a lot of times over the history of CARICOM, Caribbean people have, gradually, I don't want to say gradually, but let's use the word gradually, become very desensitized that CARICOM brings any real tangible value to their lives. And I think that has to be one of the factors that is influencing those leaders. That CARICOM citizens are saying, is this of value? And if it's of value, start implementing.
You're correct. And in some instances, the challenges really exist in the parliament, because one of the observations, one of the observations coming out of the first agricultural conference in Trinidad and Tobago, as expressed by both President Ali and Dr. Rowley, is that while the policymakers introduce the policy, the technocrats interpret the policy in a particular way, and sometimes what is interpreted and what is put in law does not reflect what the leaders were thinking about. And therefore, once it is there, the process of unraveling it, the process of dealing with it is fundamentally a difficult thing to do. So one of the things that was suggested is that the decisions do not only stop at policy, they also they also have to move to being explicit around what is meant to happen and a mechanism to ensure that that occurs. That is also a new piece of learning, but the unintended consequences of policy and the current system that exists in some instances is that the law, as is finally crafted, does not support the policy position that the government has made or the policymakers.
So that's the challenge.
That's the challenge.
Has one of the issues also been, while CARICOM is a regional body, the changes in governments in particular member states sometimes poses obstacles to continuity of policy and the pace at which the implementation takes place. In the Caribbean now, we've seen continuity of governments in some of the bigger countries, Trinidad and Tobago, Barbados, Jamaica. Is that particularly one of the factors that kind of helps move it along in terms of particular policy decisions taken and regional leaders having to champion particular areas?
So my own sense on that is that the general policy direction doesn't change. So, for example, the issue of small island states that have difficulty with climate issues, the question of security, agricultural security, energy security, national security, at the level of CARICOM, those will not change. I think what may change is the involvement of the particular country and the way in which the particular country wishes to deal with some of those matters. That might change. But in the overall scheme of things, my sense is that CARICOM as a region is a lot stronger collectively than individual countries, and they understand that principle and they operate on that basis. The benefit to the group far outweighs any individual, certainly on the international side. And when you start to deal with the multinationals and you start to deal with the global institutions, that becomes very, very clear. So in a lot of instances, a CARICOM position basically takes into account everybody. When the government changes, what you may have is shift in priority, but the problems are the same. Poverty is a problem, hunger is a problem, economic growth is a problem, because the global impact on our countries does not pay attention to who runs the country. The environment is an issue. Climate is an issue.
Regional security is an
issue.
Regional security, and are they discussing issues related to regional security? One, in terms of national security and crime, because crime, Trinidad and Tobago hosted a conference last year on crime as a public health issue, bringing regional leaders together to talk about crime, because crime is affecting each region, each country more and more. And also, one of the burgeoning issues, if you could comment on it also, is cybersecurity, which is affecting Trinidad and Tobago and other countries more and more. So if you could start with national security and how much emphasis is being placed on that at a CARICOM regional level.
So I am aware that certainly in Guyana, and I know in Trinidad and Tobago as well, there's this whole new focus on AI and legislation that is intended to control AI, because one of the challenges that the countries are experiencing is that the AI movement is basically rendering useless a lot of the current arrangements that are in place. And quite frankly, to create the defense mechanisms for cybersecurity requires a significant amount of resources and a significant amount of brain power. I know that the CARICOM region is looking to develop societies in the US and some of those places to see where they can basically get some support. But that is a very difficult exercise, because to a very large extent, it is the countries that have the potential, the wherewithal, and is ahead of the game that is basically creating the problems to some of the society. So that's an issue that they are looking at, but it's a difficult issue. And even as you fix one problem, the thing is emerging at a different rate, because those countries, the countries that are creating the issues, spend significant resources, both financial and otherwise, to create those new advances in technology that can be used either positively or negatively. So yeah, that's something that is of concern, but it is something that is being looked at a global level.
And all your
and national security in terms of crime, because it is becoming, well, it has become more and more of an existential issue in many countries, impacting the economies in several different ways.
Paul, I didn't hear the first part of the question.
I said on the issue of crime, actually, in terms of national security, and how regional leaders are grappling with that individually and collectively. Well, collectively at a CARICOM level. We've had that conference last year in Trinidad and Tobago, but we haven't heard much since that in terms of how the region intends to deal with crime. I mean, transnational crime syndicates, narco trafficking through the region, etc., must be of great concern to all the leaders collectively.
Yeah, I think that the way that the leaders are looking at that is that they're trying to create at the hemispheric level security infrastructure that can cause them to upgrade their intelligence networks and at the same time to respond a lot faster. That is a matter that is currently ongoing, and there is a lot of support from countries like the US who are ahead of the game. There's a lot more intelligence, there's a lot more reorganization of national security infrastructure. That's an ongoing matter, but let me put it this way. There is a focus on trying to get that in a place where they are in more control. Whether they are successful or not, time will tell, but yeah, that's an issue. There isn't much that I could say about it because national security by nature is like that, but there is work that is taking place.
One of the public utterances is the issue related to small arms and guns coming out of the US. We don't make guns in Trinidad and Tobago, but we have an illegal gun problem. It's filtering up the island chain, and there was some hope that a court matter would have held the gun manufacturers responsible. The US is supposed to be significantly involved in that in one way or another. And we haven't heard much about that because one of the issues related to crime and the criminality in the Caribbean is that, in Trinidad and Tobago specifically, is that issue of illegal guns coming out of the US, coming out of Central America, and finding their way into the hands of criminals in Trinidad and Tobago and other islands.
So that's a matter I think that is under consideration. I am not aware of anything else that is taking place. What I do know is that legislation in many instances and a better enforcement infrastructure at our ports and surveillance issues and intelligence is being worked on to a very large extent. That will depend on the security services and the intelligence services across the board. And I know that there are some efforts to increase and beef that up and to use technology to deal with that. The impact of that, the effect of that, we'd have to see what happens, but I am aware that there is consideration being given to look at those issues from a cross-national point of view.
So in closing, I guess at the closing press conference tomorrow, we will get a summary and outline of what the direction is to CARICOM in the next year or so.
Absolutely. I think that the conference closes after lunch tomorrow. I think that's where the heads are going to meet today to discuss matters in private. And then tomorrow morning, they finalize the agendas and the closing comments will happen tomorrow afternoon. Yeah, so that would be a good time to tap into what the decisions were and what the future prospects are. Yeah, I think that would be where we need to focus to see what the next steps are.
Ambassador, thanks for being with us this morning. Appreciate your time and your contribution.
Thank you for inviting me.
I like the shirt though.
Well, it was intended to impress you.
It has. Thanks a lot. Stay safe.
Okay.
All right. All the best to you.
Thank you.
All right. Take care.
Good.
Mr. Chambers, Ambassador to Guyana, Conrad Enel, giving us an update on the energy conference and also the CARICOM Heads of Government Conference presently taking place, of which Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley is participating. All right. We could open the phone lines in the next 7 minutes or so, I guess.
222-8255. Toll-free North Americans, 866-525-1099. All right. Yeah.
Interesting results to the poll, going back to the poll earlier on, in terms of as I heard one of the callers call and said that presently Coca-Cola does have labels which indicate caloric count and all of that. But that does not mean that the other fast food products and or services have that. And yes, I agree with personal responsibility, but you have to understand the power of advertising, particularly in minds of children, and the convenience factor. So it has to be a two-part initiative, responsibility being taken by the fast food retailers and also the public in terms of personal responsibility. So it works hand in hand. I think they should, instead of just complaining about it, you could pass law to mandate that fast food retailers put caloric counts, and also the ministry go on a campaign to identify what.
But wouldn't you do one, Paul, who told me, I can't remember what country it was, maybe it was Singapore, where they subsidize healthy food but tax unhealthy food?
One of those is either Japan or Singapore. Yeah, and they don't make joke.
Because sometimes you go to healthy choices, invariably are more expensive. That's part of the problem, huh?
Yeah.
Well, they're more expensive because of a lot of factors, like if the farmers are not getting not subsidies, but support systems to make their produce more efficient into the production line. So if production costs on goods and services, for example, produce is more expensive, it ends up more expensive on the shelves. You understand? And the import substitutions are cheaper because they are subsidized in the jurisdictions in which they originate. For example, corn in the US is heavily subsidized. So the cost farmers could sell it at when they export it is even more predatory in countries like Trinidad and Tobago. Remember the banana industry collapsed because of the subsidization of banana production in the US. They've rather sang about that. So a lot of the healthier options, which are grown locally primarily, are more expensive for various reasons, including what farmers have to deal with, pretty larceny, the importation taxes on equipment, the fact that in some instances they're not using technology to grow, they're still using, in many cases, not all, because I'm seeing some signs that they're using technology, vertical farming, etc., specific farming to increase yield and to reduce costs and wastage. So it's not just one factor that contributes to healthier options being, and then taste too. Taste, once you give a child KFC and Royal Castle, they ain't to know those and because they want the salt and the fat, because that's what's addictive. You understand? It's a taste. When you get weaned on particular tastes, it's difficult to change that, because at the end of the day, you become addicted to it because it's been fed to you, and there's substances in those things, in the 11 herbs and spices, quote unquote, to keep you hooked. Salt and fat. They understand the human metabolism and physiology and how your brain functions under certain chemicals. It's not by guess, it's a science. Addiction is a science, and they've transplanted the addictive properties of many of the chemicals in some things that are illegal into those legal things. You think kids like KFC and Royal Castle by guess? Come on, the things that they like in the taste.
Well, yeah, I mean, a lot of people love KFC, and a lot of people love Royal Castle.
Mm-hmm. And the convenience is a big thing.
Convenience is a big issue. Yeah, it is.
Huge.
Because oftentimes you have households where both parents are working, the vast majority.
Grab it 3 times a week and feed it to the children.
Yeah, sometimes it's just convenient. I mean, much more now, Trinidadians and Tobagonians eat out than they did before at any other point in our history.
And then think of cooking and the expense of cooking and buying stuff to cook, the price of stuff in the supermarkets to go and cook, and then the time to cook and the gas to cook and the electricity to cook. And sometimes it's cheaper, it's more convenient, it's easy to grab and go.
And then the time factor, when someone spends 2 hours in traffic, then they go home to make a meal. It's just quicker to pick up something on the way home.
Yep.
That time factor, that traffic situation, it really,
But the caloric intake, I think the caloric intake and having that up will help in the sense that you might be going to buy a 3-piece and say, let me have the 1-piece instead.
But we're focusing on the chicken retailers. But you know what's a big issue with the caloric intake that we don't factor in? Sweetened juices, sodas. That is the other side of it.
Yeah.
Those juices with the high sugar content, sodas with high sugar content, and those are also equally as dangerous as the
No, you're right. You're right. I mean, I don't really drink. I seldom drink anything but water and maybe the occasional Heineken.
There's water.
I said, and maybe the occasional Heineken.
Yes.
But generally my drink of choice is water, and
I
room temperature.
teach myself to drink water.
And room temperature water at that.
Really?
If I'm at a bar and because sometimes I'm good at a bar, I'm not really drinking alcohol, and I might drink a Malta or I'll drink water. But I will often ask them, do you have room temperature water? I don't want it cold. I just don't like cold water. I don't know why. I just prefer it at room temperature. But I mean, when I was a teenager and younger, I mean, nobody was more connoisseur on soft drinks than me. I used to really drink soft drinks, and I cut it out.
And wasn't it a process to cut it out? Because the sugar.
Well, it was vanity. It was vanity, Paul. I had to go on stage in an underwear, and I said, you know what? I'm cutting out sugar. I'm cutting out. I cut out a lot of stuff, and Heathcliff West had challenged me that I could not do it in 2 weeks, and I made a dramatic turn. I cut out all sugar because I had to go on stage.
What was the impact? Did you see the weight fall off quickly?
It did. Of course, your metabolic rate was a bit higher back then, but the strange thing about it is after I cut out sugar for that period of time, I never really went back to sugar. So whereas I would have had sweetened coffee and stuff, now I can't. I could only have black coffee, and my desire to drink soft drinks and stuff, I just stopped drinking soft drinks. I had no interest. I'm not saying that I am obsessed with it. I mean, if I'm out and you're out at dinner and, you have a juice of some sort or whatever you drink, then fine. So I'm not obsessive about it, but by far, I drink much less sugar. I'm not saying I'm not going to have a piece of cake or, some ice cream when I feel like having it. Absolutely not. I will. But my sugar intake changed dramatically since that point.
And then how you feel after not having so much sugar in your body?
But I mean, it's been such a long time now that, But what is another point? Carbohydrates, you process carbohydrates like sugar.
Yeah.
And I do eat carbohydrates. And that causes weight gain too, because carbohydrates are sugar in how your body processes it.
Some fruits are highly sugar rich.
Yeah, fructose, a lot of fructose. So when you eat rice and you eat bread, and I like bread, I don't demonize bread in my mind. I know some people demonize bread. Oh, I'm not having bread, not me.
Pasta.
But if I feel for bread, I love pasta.
I do too.
And as Trinidadians and Tobagonians, we generally love rice because it's a staple in our diet as children. All those it's a bigger deal for me to cut out carbohydrates.
Yeah.
It's a bigger deal.
Yeah, you're right. But if you cut out the sugar drinks, it makes a big difference.
Yeah.
Huge difference. If you do that for a month, you will not be the difference in your body it will make. Anyway, you all have a wonderful day. Be safe. Drink more water today. Eat more vegetables.
Oh, I need to tell you all that there's a play on this weekend at Queen's Hall. It's called Love is a Walk. And of course, tickets are available at outlets across the country. Electronics in Arima has tickets. K-Squared Fashions in Eastgates and West Mall. Creme Fresh at Chagonas in Brentwood Mall. And Tony's Florals at Val Park Shopping Plaza. Crosby's in St. James. Chanflair Auto Services. Jabili Rawe in Tunapuna. All of the usual outlets have tickets. And Queen's Hall also has tickets. So you can get your tickets also at Queen's Hall. as well as online. You can check RSRR Productions Theatre on social media, and you can see how you can purchase tickets online. Of course, we open, it's the world premiere of this play, Love is a Walk, on Saturday night and Saturday night at 8:30 and Sunday at 6:30. And of course, we go the following week to San Fernando at SAPA on the 9th and 10th of March. And so tickets go on sale from Friday at our South locations for the play, and of course at SAPA box office from next week, Wednesday. So theater is on. Love is a Walk.
Mm-hmm.
That's the name of the play. All right. That's the big one.
Thank you, Richie. We will chat with you come tomorrow morning. Be safe. Drink lots of water.
Have a fantastic day, Steve. Have a
All right,
fantastic
you
day.
too,
Everyone, remember to smile and laugh. It's great for your health. Have a good one.
All righty. And before I go, let me just wish